Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the shiny new Curragh Racecourse. Previewing the 2019 Spring Festival tonight, it's a multi-talented panel that crosses many codes. We've Johnny Murtagh, Willie McCreery and Babs Keating. But first, give it up for John Duggan, and his parents are here tonight, so he's on his best behaviour. He really is a lovely boy. It's Gilroy!
Yeah, it's all true. You're very welcome along to the very shiny surrounds of the new Curragh. Do you like it? Yeah. No, come on. Do you really like it? Yeah, we're getting it right. What do you think of it?
Isn't this amazing? Look at the vista. Look at this amazing new racetrack. Like, I know it's an old racetrack, but look at this grandstand. It's just fantastic. And we were up at the top about a few minutes ago, and just the vista. You can see the Dublin Mountains. You can see all over the surrounding counties. Like, on a sunny day, this would be amazing. And the way you'd be able to see the horses coming in. I think this is going to be a great experience for everybody, for racegoers, for punters, for people who want to bite. This is it, guys. This is a new dawn, I'm telling you, for the Curragh.
Yeah, so we're going to get the preview of the weekend's races, because it is a massive weekend. It's the Curragh Spring Festival, and it goes to post this Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And it features the Tattersalls Irish 100 and 2,000 guineas in the Gold Cup. It's the first classics of the season. And of course, if you haven't already, you can get your tickets for the festival now at curragh.ie. They're the Wicklow Mountains, by the way. I know the way the Dubs like to take over everything.
We'll win the 5 in a row, don't you worry.
They're actually the Wicklow Mountains. And our first two guests tonight are very local, although they're not actually local. They've travelled a little bit to make the Curragh their home, so we couldn't ask for two better guests to break in this Friday night racing here at the Curragh. Please give it up for the legends that are Johnny Murtagh and Willie McCreery. Welcome. So we're gone beans from the city / originally from the
we're
country,
full city here
from the country, but this place is impressive. We're easily impressed, but this place is impressive, Johnny.
Yeah, it's a showcase. It's the best track in Ireland. We had a facility here which wasn't up to scratch. You know, I used to hate when the English lads would come over and you'd say, "Come on up to the Curragh," and they'd be looking, "Oh, the Curragh," you know. But we're really looking forward to them coming back this week and showing it off. It's a state of the art, it's world class, and we just need to get behind it now and really push it, because people, the more you tell them it's great, the more they believe it. But if you keep telling them, they don't have this or they don't have that, Hey, I remember Royal Ascot when it was built first, going there, they had problems at the start. The first 3 steps, you couldn't see the track because the track was up here and the 3 steps were down there. So they got over it. So Royal Ascot is the place to be. So I'm sure the Curragh over the next 6 months is going to learn from, the couple of meetings there is and add to what we have. But as I said, you look at the views here tonight, they're, fantastic. And it's, as I said, the track itself, I've ridden around the world, there's nowhere better. Yeah, I'll come back to the details of the track, because I think it's, listening to you both chat a couple of minutes ago about it, it's really interesting, and it obviously matters a lot. But just to get your first impressions, when you kind of have seen this place rising from the ground over the last number of months, Willie, what did you expect?
Nothing as nice as this, in fairness. No matter where you stand, we'd be watching horses galloping from over the far side of the Curragh, and you look across and it sits in the landscape, fantastic. If you're driving down the motorway, you look across, it's fantastic, and in here it's fantastic looking out there. It's going to be great. Saturday and Sunday they have the top class horses racing it, and we hope that it attracts new people to come racing as well, and that's what we need to get people in the gates, Yeah, I think that's important, and I think it's interesting too that the local community needs to buy into it, but it's not that hard for that to happen. Like, you look at other successful things that have happened around the area. Kildare Village didn't exist 15 years ago, and now the whole country knows about it. A good product and a bit of marketing goes a long way. Yeah, we've got the Curragh Racecourse, we've got Kildare Village, we've got the National Stud. For a Mead man, it's very hard to say.
Not bad for a blow-in.
Kildare have it. They have it. So it's I think it's just going to add
to those other two great attractions. And the locals will, the locals have crying out for something like this, something to be proud of. And this is something to be very proud of.
Yeah, architecturally it's stunning. And you were driving past on the motorway for the last number of months, you were like, I can't wait to actually see what that's like in there, because the quality of work seems to be really good. And then you get here today and the finish is sensational and the views from everywhere are absolutely stunning. So, fingers crossed it all works out. Tell me about what the Curragh actually means to you, because you train here now.
Yeah, I train just a mile down that way. Johnny's a mile that way, aren't we, Johnny? And look, it's a wonderful facility for horses. Horses like open air, and we just walk out our gates, and we've 2,400 acres to work on. We've wood chip gallops, sand gallops, grass gallops, peat gallops, and a lot of trainers from around the country come up here and use the facilities. And a lot of trainers from around the country said they wouldn't train on the Curragh, but still they use our facilities. So, which is a load of crap, but
maybe they will now.
Yeah. Look, it's a wonderful place to train horses. I think the horses are very happy here. They like, as I say, the open air, and that it's a wonderful place. Easy. If you can't train a horse here, you can't train a horse at all.
As I said, I lived here. I live here. I bought my house in '94. It's on the Curragh. You take it for granted. You're walking out and you're looking, the Curragh's not that good, and they could be doing this or they should be doing that. But now that I'm a trainer and I'm using all the facilities here, you just realise how lucky you are. Again, I've been to Newmarket, I've been to Ballydoyle, I've been to Japan, I've been to Australia, and they have these great gallops. But we've got Walsh's Hill there. It's a grass gallop. As Willie said, there's peat on one side, it's trial on the other. If you get to the top of Walsh's Hill going well, you're in business. I've ridden great horses. Sindar was trained there. Sea the Stars was trained there. Dermot Weld trained the Melbourne Cup winner. They all work up there. So you're not, as Willie says, I wonder, does it work? It works. And it's not the Curragh's fault if you can't train winners. You better start looking at yourself.
Yeah. Willie, how did you end up training on the Curragh? How does that happen?
I've no mirrors. I don't want to look at myself. How did it happen? I basically got sacked from my previous job and had to find a yard to train on, and there was a yard over the far side, and it was, I was able to rent it for, a nominal fee really to get started with 10 horses, and that's the way I started. And the trainers or the owners pay the Curragh fees, so you just work away. And I gave myself a 5-year plan and said if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But
because we were chatting about this outside, and I said to you, it seems like it's a hard game to get into, and you were like, actually, that might be a perception, but that's not the truth. That if you want to become a trainer, there is a pathway there for you to do so around the use of facilities like this. Oh,
definitely. I was hoping actually part of the Curragh scheme would be to build smaller satellite yards out the back here in the land across the way, because there's a tunnel to go under the roadway, and to build 3 or 4 yards with 20 boxes of each for young people to start training, to try and get more people onto the Curragh to use the facilities. And I was a little bit disappointed, I think, that it didn't happen, but not really, because they're more competitors. But, I think we need to use the Curragh. There's a lot of yards falling into disrepair around the Curragh, and it needs to be horse friendly and more horses on it to keep the facility going. Or, I'd be worried about in 20 years we don't have all those yards kind of kept into use, really.
Yeah, because it's difficult for some of the yards to continue going, but that's why it's important that facilities like this showcase the best of racing and do get crowds and do get local support.
Yeah, well, if more people come racing, they might think of putting a horse in training, because it is a great vibe, it's a great day out. There's lots of syndicates now that get involved in racing, and it's quite easy and cheap to get involved with, and it's a wonderful day out here, and obviously here it'll be wonderful.
Tell us a little bit about the track. Why is it so special, and why is it so good?
Well, the turf alone, the turf is absolutely fantastic, and I think it's really after thriving after the last couple of years. I know Longchamp, when they were doing the building, they stopped using the track completely, but the Curragh did use it, but the number of race days was cut down, so the track didn't get any damage, but it was still in use, so it was getting cut, it was getting maintained. So I've never seen it as good as it is now at the moment. The last 2 years, I think, have been absolutely fantastic. But it's a very fair track. This weekend, the Guineas mile start, straight mile, tough straight mile. But from the 3 marker up, the best horse always wins. There's the odd time you might get unlucky, you might get boxed in, but 9 out of 10 times the best horse always wins at the Curragh. We've got a 2 mile start. So there's every start here. Some of the tracks in Ireland are limited. You know, you can't have a 5 furlong race, you can't have a mile race, you know. But the Curragh has every race, from 2 mile to 5 furlongs. So it caters for everybody. It's a very fair track. And if you win at the Curragh...
The fairness is the thing you're talking about when the best horse wins.
Yeah.
And that's because it's straight and there's enough room for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your best day ever at the Curragh, Johnny?
The best day ever at the Curragh, I suppose, when I won the Irish Derby on Sindar. You know, he was after winning the Epsom Derby. You really always want to win the Epsom Derby. But then you come back to the Curragh, and if he doesn't win at the Curragh, it's a bit of an anticlimax. And it was a special day. Sindar winning the Derby, but I suppose then when I beat Christoph Sumion on Alamshire, that was another good day.
Both in the Aga Khan countries.
Yeah. But the Irish Derby weekend is a big weekend. It's the biggest weekend for us. And, coming home, I live down the road.
Yeah, it's nice.
Winning at your home track, there's no greater feeling.
I should say that when Johnny was waxing lyrical about the straight, the sun came out and the godlight appeared. It was almost like you had control of the clouds there for a second. Just like you were back in your heyday. The time was arriving perfectly.
Yeah, well, listen, you need a bit of help now and again.
Willie, what's your take on the track? Is it do you have favourite tracks around the country? Are you always thinking, I'm going to run this course at this?
Curragh wouldn't be my favourite racetrack because it's a very tough track. You know what I mean? I always think you need a very brave horse to win here because it's a tough finish. And
because of the length of it?
You don't really see it, but it's just a little incline, isn't it, Johnny, right up to the line?
Oh, there is. From the 2 marker up, you're finishing up the hill, so it does drag it. It does drag it out. As I said, the best.
You wouldn't call it a hill, but it is a slight little. A brave horse always wins at the Curragh. There's a lot of, isn't it? A nappy horse, you can't just arrive in the line like you can in other tracks, isn't it? You can just help me out here.
He's looking at the sun.
Willie.
Yeah.
Willie. A brave horse, come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need a good horse to win at the Curragh.
Yeah.
Good horses always win at the Curragh. But I know Willie say, you might, a dodgy one might get away, it might last home, but here you have to last home. Yeah. You have to last home. And you come to the Curragh with your best horses, but you forget everybody brings their best horses. So, you know what I mean? So my best horse is running at the Curragh this weekend, but you forget, everybody has come with the best horse. So the competition is really on. But I have to say, for fairness, you usually get a fair shot at it. You usually get a fair shot at the Curragh.
And as a jockey, did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. I love coming to the Curragh. It's big days. It's easy to get up for the Curragh. It's easy to get up for the Curragh. Every race is a big race. All the classics are here. So it's very important that you're, on song. I know this weekend, this is kind of almost the start of it. The flat, kind of is a bit slow to get going during the start. But after Punchestown, it gets going, and then the Guineas weekend is the first one that really kicks it on. So I loved it here. I rode a lot of good horses. I loved it here, and there's no hiding place out there.
Willie, we had a great chat when you were in with us on Friday Night Racing a couple of months back about the quality of the land in Kildare and it being something that helps with the quality of the horses. Just explain a bit to us, will you?
Well, that's an outwash plain all across the Curragh, a Galatian outwash plain, and it's based. If you actually dug down, the top about foot is soil, and under that is sand. That's why the Curragh always drains so well. You could have really soft everywhere else in the country, and the Curragh will still be okay. We'll never need Noah's Ark up here, hopefully. It's a great training track, and it's all around Kildare is a huge calcium base of Elton series soils, and you'll have a lot of that's why the National Stud is just a mile, I suppose, as the crow flies around there. There's the Aga Khan Stud is a mile back this way. Do you know what I mean? There's Sheikh Mohammed has a farm, he's about 2 miles that way. He's another farm just at the back of us here, Ballymanny. A lot of good farms here, a lot of very good horses are raised here. It just pushes up great soil for horses to eat off, really. And it's all, you don't see any weeds or anything across the Curragh, really. It's all good soil, all good grassland.
Really Kildare man, isn't he?
Careful now, Johnny.
It's nearly as good as the land down in Meath. That's what's great.
Hang on.
Or Tipperary. The lads in Tipperary be saying that the lads in Tipperary be giving out, Willie.
Yeah, but the lads in Tipperary building an all-weather track down there, so they don't need land. No, it's great soil. We trained, the Kildare lads trained across there. Used to run all the way up there with 5 mile running out across the Curragh. Wasn't great land then now.
This is Miko's heyday.
Miko's heyday, yeah.
He started off at 600 lads. He only had 60 in the end by the time they got to the top of Welsh's Hill.
Oh, actually, in 98 we beat Meath in the Leinster final, didn't we? Yeah.
Just one last point about the soil. Why does it matter for the horses? How does it have an impact?
Well, most farms, stud farms, are good soil, good land. Horses don't kind of thrive on peaty, bad soil. So, like, all of Kildare is good soil.
Is this because they're eating grass?
Yeah, they live off grass, but they
Yeah.
have to live off good grass. Can't live off old sour grass that sheep or cattle might graze on up in the hills or that. You know what I mean?
They've got standards. They're not going to eat any old crap. They're a bit.
And thoroughbreds be very fussy.
Right.
You might have your non-thoroughbred would eat, anything. You get fat in anything, but a thoroughbred won't, or the foal won't thrive. So they need good soil, good land to be well looked after, and that,
Yeah, this all makes sense when it's explained to you, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. When as I said, because the first few years of their life is very important. The good farm. That's why the good farms always keep breeding the good horses. They have a system there. The grass is looked after, and it's very important that the mares are getting good and the milk is good, and so it all.
So there's obviously loads of yards around the Curragh then.
Yeah, I think there's about 1,200 horses or 1,800 horses.
Train on the Curragh, But and all the young stock be off the Curragh. There'd be a lot of farms on the edge of the Curragh.
Right.
A lot of stud farms, like all around here. There could be 30 stud farms all around.
That's
here.
what you did before you got into the training. Before you decided to make the leap into training.
Yeah, exactly. I actually did a national stud course.
Right.
When I was 19, and then went to Australia for a year.
And how did you go from not being a trainer to being a trainer? Like, I know you kind of, as you were coming to the end of the being a jockey, it was obviously in your head that you were going to do this, but they're very different disciplines. Yeah,
I was kind of, I had a few horses in my yard, and Tommy Camerdy was there with us. We started off with 5 horses at the start, so I was kind of dipping my toe in and seeing what it was like. And I always thought of myself as a trainer. I'd be telling, maybe Ger Lyons or Eddie Lynham or, you should be doing this or you should be doing that, so.
Did you say that to Aidan O'Brien as a matter of interest?
Probably did. That's why I ended up not working for him as long as I should have, you know what I mean? So. But no, I think, I know myself, and Willie will say, a jockey's input is a good help, isn't it? A jockey, That's why Billy Lee is doing really well. He's not saying nothing to him, you see. But no, I kind of always fancied myself as a bit of a trainer, and I used to always say to the trainers, it's not as hard as you make out, lads,
Were they right?
I'm kind of changing my mind a little bit now, all right. My horns are pulled in a little bit now,
Is it a headache? Do you have some
listen, it's a great life. It's a great life. What could you ask for? You get up in the morning, it's real healthy. You're doing something you love. You love the horses. I question myself, did I like horses or did I not? Because I'm riding them. You just get on them. You want them to go quicker than everybody else. You're just so driven to win. Win, But now you kind of get up in the morning, you feed them. They're like your kids. You just love them. You know what I mean? And I'm lucky. I've got good staff around, so I enjoy, the crack in the yard. And you're the captain of the ship. So you set the tone. So if you set a good positive tone, there's usually a good positive vibe around the yard, and the horses feed off that. And if the horses are running well, it's a bonus.
Aidan was speaking. I was down at Coolmore a few years ago, and he was talking about. It was unbelievable, and you were actually there, I think, at Johnny at the time, and you had all these horses parading around, listening to 80s music, which was really weird. And then he knew every single horse, he knew every single work rider, and he said that the horses are individuals. Do you feel that the horses can actually pick up on their surroundings and their environment?
Very much so. Yeah, 100%. Horses sense everything. They sense everything. They sense it probably more than we sense it. They sense everything. So if there's a good positive vibe around, I'm sure they're going to be good and positive. They take the personalities of the trainer. So you see Willie's horses are going around there, they're
nice and relaxed. Nice and relaxed, Johnny.
They're nearly there.
Nice and relaxed, Johnny.
They get to the final, they're nearly there. So, no, they do. And as I said, it's the biggest problem is when you ring owners, it's usually ringing them with bad news. You know, you're usually ringing, like I rang an owner the other day, he goes, well, what's wrong? Oh, I said, there's nothing wrong. I just rang you up to say everything is... Oh, he says, when I see your number coming, he says, I dread
Your training fees are going up.
Well, no, there's usually something after happening. You know, the horse is after getting injured, or he's scoped bad, or he's coughed and he can't run the weekend, or the ground is not suiting him, or... You know, so that's probably the hardest part of it, giving people bad news. But, sure, it is what it is. You know, you have to...
Tell them their horse is no good, I think, is a hard thing. You know, someone's after sending you a horse and they're after breeding it and they're after probably helping it foal and looking after it the whole way through, and they've given it to you to train and you're after looking after it, you know. Like we have to condition horses. You know, horses come in and they have to be toned up and muscled up to take the hard training. So I would call myself a conditioner apart from a trainer. So you condition them and then, you know, you give them every chance, you know.
On the track or before?
Oh, before the track. Before the track, you know, before they ever run, because more than likely they have siblings that they don't want to devalue if this horse is no good to run it in the track. So you want to see if it's going to help them.
Would you have people then in denial? What are you talking about? My horse is no good.
Oh, they're all in denial. You know, the owners are in denial because they don't want to hear it. You know, and you know, you're trying. Like that's the last thing you want to tell them, that your horse is no good.
So there's a diplomatic way of saying that it's no good without saying it's no good.
How would you face that one, Johnny? There's no diplomatic way.
Rigorous honesty.
Yeah, I think you have to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can put it whatever way you like. You know, I heard of a jockey get off a horse one day, and the trainer asked him, "Well, what's anything?" The horse worked terrible in the piece of work, and the owner was standing beside him. And he said, well, what do you think of the horse? No good. What does it stay? Doesn't stay, doesn't quicken, doesn't have much ability. Goes back to the owner, and he, you know, well, you heard that, didn't you? Then he turned to the jockey again. Well, he said, "Is there anything good to say about it?" And he looked up. Yeah, it's a lovely colour, but that's literally it. You know, so you can't hide it. You can't. You know, that's the hardest thing I think to say.
We've seen in like the jumps, like with Michael O'Leary pulling out of jumps racing, and Willie's dominance and Gordon's dominance, and we've seen national hunt traders go to the wall in recent years. In the flash, or is it more secure given the kind of more the foundation around the Curragh here and the other things you would have been doing? Or is Aidan O'Brien intimidating, or are you able to coexist?
Well, listen, you'll see this weekend. You know, we're doing the best we can. He's risen the bar. He is risen the bar. But what are you going to do? Are you going to weaken away, or are you going to kind of rise to the challenge? But at the end of the day, we're trying to compete with horses. Like our budget is between 20 and 50,000, and then you look at what their horses cost. You know, but so that's what you're trying to do. But you just have to pick your fights, and hopefully, you know what I mean, that you will get your day. You mightn't get many days, but that's why the days are so special when you get them. You know, the Ireland is very, very tough. It's very tough in Ireland at the moment. The competition is very strong. Ger Lyons has got a lot of Khaled Abdullah's horses. He's doing really well. Dermot Weld is going well. So, you know, it's, you know.
So your main owners, are they syndicates or are they private clients? Or
syndicates.
Yeah. Is that, and that surely is huge fun when you come here and you have a syndicate and you have a winner or any track. Just they've invested in it. They've like maybe. You know, it might be a bit of an outlay for them, even individually, to be part of a syndicate, the day out, the experience, and then they win.
Yeah, I had two lads there this year. They won a race at the Curragh. It was the first horse they had. It was the first winner. It was just unreal watching them. Like, you know, I was kind of saying, geez, it's only a handicap at the Curragh, relax. Oh, this is the best day of my life. And they really enjoyed it. And that's where you get the kick. I think that's where you get the kick, seeing the enjoyment they get. And, like as I said, they bought the horse in January and he didn't win until September, so that, you know, it was a long way along the way, but in the end he ended up winning and they had a great day out, and that's, as I said, that's what makes it worthwhile.
Johnny, I know you're a Meath man now, but you've been here since you were 15, so effectively Kildare can adopt you, right? You came down to join the academy here. Is
Yes.
that what happened?
Yeah.
What was that experience like, leaving home at 15?
I sure didn't think much of it at the time. I got down to race, and I loved it. the minute I went down, I loved it. There was 26 lads there. You know, we were all staying in race. It was great crack. You go home on a Saturday evening, Sunday, and you know, not like nowadays to get home Friday evening. So they're getting, you know, this.
You're looking after them well, are you?
Well, it's not my choice they're getting home on a Friday evening, but you know, times have changed. But we've got a few there now at the moment, and
the crowd is full of them. Actually, we've got Sarah Verling and Luke Carberry who are in your yard at the moment. So I know Sue's down there with the mic. Sarah, how hard a taskmaster is Johnny Murtagh? Does he work you guys hard?
No, he doesn't.
She's terrified.
What is your day job? What do you actually do when you what is the main part of the day?
I guess we have our own lots that we ride out and try and help in the yard and muck out and try and learn as much as you can.
And what are you learning? Learning to be, Johnny's a killer, obviously. Is he teaching you the killer instinct yet, or does that only come a little bit later on?
I know you're learning, trying to improve your knowledge and riding abilities. And
how to communicate with the horse and control the horse, all that kind of stuff. Is it fun? Is it actually an enjoyable?
Yeah, it is fun. You enjoy it every day. There's new things you learn every day.
How long are you with Johnny for? What?
4 months.
Right, so 4 months is a good long time.
she's improved a lot. She's doing really well. She fell off there the other day, so that didn't go so well. But she's great. She's doing really, really well. You know, she's doing really, really well, and she works hard. And you know, again, I've got a few young people, and it's good to see them improving.
Yeah.
I kind of throw them in a bit at the deep end. There's no, like, you know...
Well, I was going to say...
I heard Joe Schmidt, like, he got a new number 9 in. So he said to him, right, he says, we're not waiting for you. So I'm the same. I just throw them in there. They get involved with... There's 12 staff. So the staff kind of bring them along. And the staff nearly tell them, oh, don't say that or say that. You know, what to say, what to get into the system. And then they get into the system and they love it, so...
Am I right in saying that when you were in the academy, you rode a pony for the first year, is that right?
First 3 months.
First 3 months. You're letting them up on your best horses?
Sarah rides out Urban Beat, so he's running in the Group 2 tomorrow. So how is he going to run, Sarah?
Hopefully very good.
It'll be the jockey or the trainer's fault if he doesn't.
It'll be the jockeys.
So you've no qualms about putting apprentices up straight up?
Actually, listen, she's there 4 months now. She rides well. He's a good horse. She suits him well, and she rides him well. So, you know, that's another thing about training, is putting, you know, the right rider on the right horse and who suits. Now, because some jockeys don't suit some horses. You know, some horses are harder to ride than others. So he's a nice, quiet ride, and she gets on well with him. So she did okay on him. He won there last week, and there's no point in change the winning team.
No, absolutely. Willie, how many horses would you have in training at any one time?
About 50 there.
Okay, so you need 50. Is it 50 work riders at the same time every morning, or?
Oh no, the 11 or 12 right now. Yeah.
Okay, and so at different periods of their lives, they're being ridden out. Obviously, why would they all not be getting ridden out? What's that process?
No, they're all ridden out from, say, they're
at different times.
18 months,
right,
till whenever you finish training them.
Okay,
but they're ridden out every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So
except Sunday, they'll either go in the paddock or in the walker.
Okay, but you've got 50 or 15, did you say?
Riders.
Horses.
50 horses. 50
okay,
horses.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you not need 50 riders? My maths are
they'll all
bad.
ride 4 or 5 horses each day.
Okay, there you go. So they.
Yeah.
5 lots. 10 on each lot.
Thanks, Johnny.
10 on each lot. 50.
I was good at maths. My maths down there, so you can verify that. All right.
Dublin Mountains.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure that everybody's actually in tune with what's happening in the yard, and that they're able to give you all that information back on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
And as Johnny says, it's very important you put the right people on the right horses.
So you're standing here, are you driving along, watching, or how does that work?
No, I'd be standing up at the top, and they'll get in here at the 5 furlong, and the Old Vic is just over here across from us. They'll walk 5 furlongs there, or 7 furlongs.
The Old Vic is the name of the gallops?
Yes, that was called after one of Sheikh Mohammed's horses to win the Irish Derby. How long ago, Joe Osborne?
30 years, or
is it exactly 30 years? He's headed Darley and he doesn't know. I'm very disappointed. So yeah, that was called after, and there's a new gallop just to the side of it called the Free Eagle, and so those 2 gallops are 1 mile and 1. They're probably the top gallops in Ireland, really, aren't they, Johnny? Everyone comes up and uses the Old Vic for the flat horses. You know, there's a 7 furlong and the mile and 1 they get on, and if a horse like the Walsh's Hill comes up going by you there, well, you can. Even I was standing there this morning, and Kevin Pendergast, who's 87, was standing beside me, and he's as nosy as hell, you know. And there was 3 horses coming up, and he was, what's that chestnut one there? And I says, it's not one of yours, Kevin, it's one of mine. What is it? And I wouldn't tell him. She's all right. So he rang me an hour later. I found out what it was. So, you know, so we all had we're all trained against each other, and we all hate each other on the track, but we do kind of get on, don't we, Johnny? Most of the time.
We do, yeah. I know, there's a good bit of crack around. You know, you do meet, the lads out there every morning, but like Kevin Prendergast, he's one lad, when you meet him in the morning, you go away with a smile on your face. You know, he sees everything. As he said to a fella, they don't call me Spot for nothing. You know, he knows, he wants to know everyone's business, but it's great. It's a great life, as I said, and it's a tough life, but hey, weather like this, no better job in the world.
No, it's amazing. You get here and you can picture it, and the way you guys talk about it, you're completely in tune with it. Are you standing there with stopwatches? Is it just the eye? What are you?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, you have to take. I don't time them. I just stand there. But you watch them go by you, and you see them going by you, and then you're hoping when you get up, the jockey gives you kind of the same feedback as what you're after seeing. You have it in your mind. You set up the work like you maybe work 3 horses together, so you kind of have it in your mind what's going to happen. It's nice when it actually does happen, when they go by you like that, and then when you get to the top, you get a good positive report from the jockeys. So, and that's what you're going in, and then you can bring them in, and you can either scope them. You're hoping they don't cough on the way in. You can scope them when you get in, or take their bloods. And usually, if they work well, the blood is good and the scope clean, they usually run the race.
Right.
But if one of those is not 100%, it's, as I said, there's no margin for error. You cannot just rock up and think you're going to.
The scope is actually sticking a stethoscope down into their lungs to see if there's any mucus in the lungs or any blood. Because basically, when we're working a horse, we're working them to probably 80% of the time, and you're just to see that everything's working properly, and he's 100% healthy. And then a blood will also tell you if there's some little thing there, bug there as well.
So there's a bit of science. That's the small bit of science, but mostly it's instinct about whether or not, and even the definition of what 80% is really. Like, the jockey has to know, you need to know, work him so hard, but not too much harder, because obviously you might put him over the top.
Exactly.
That's it, yeah.
You want him basically to nearly come racing 95%, really, isn't it? And the 100% he'll get from the race.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're hoping, I hope he finds those 4 lengths. You know, you if you go looking all the time for those 4 lengths,
you might leave them on the gallops.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That must be madness, though. There's like slight maddening where there's the few times you did leave them on the gallops, there's the few times it doesn't happen, and then there's the one time you don't expect it to happen, and out of nowhere, the horse like bolts up, and you're like, I don't know.
Ah, well, that's what happens. You can, that, but that's what good trainers do. That's the difference. That's the thin line between training winners or wondering what happened. Standing in the stand, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
So it's a thin line, and you have to. And you're the one that the trainer's the one with the.
And that's why we
final
love sport.
say.
But that is why we love sport, because they're not robots, and it doesn't always work out perfect.
This time of the year, there's huge improvement to horses. Because I don't know, is it more light, is it? And I can't say they're getting more grass, because the horse in training, like, all my horses get out, but not, and yours get out, don't they? But,
yeah.
So they're really thriving this time of year, a bit of warmer weather. But you'd hear the trainer saying, he's improved 5 or 6 pounds from his last run. But that's only nature, because it's coming in spring, coming into summer. They're starting to blossom. Well, they're starting to blossom and feeling good. Do you know what I mean? It's like us, I suppose, getting our clothes off and going out in the sun, you enjoy it, you know what I mean? And the horse is the same, You can
see that in the yard. You can sense it happening.
The horses are starting to gleam now. The coats, from springtime, they'll have starey coats, to now, like this weekend, I think the weather's supposed to be okay, so that all the coats should be gleaming in the parade ring,
Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful sight. It's time for us to get another legend of Irish sport up. Ladies and gentlemen, Babs Keating, please give it up for him.
here there.
Yeah. You're very welcome. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Few injuries, self-inflicted,
Mostly.
but surviving. Nothing that a few winners wouldn't cure.
You've been coming to this place a long time. You've been coming to the Curragh a long time.
Oh, I go back to the early 60s. Some great memories out there. I suppose the first memory I have, I remember coming with a neighbour of mine. He had a little horse trained by Paddy Norris. Christy Roach was an apprentice jockey at the time. Winter's day out there. And I was in the parade ring with the owner and Paddy Norris. And Christy came in, tipped his cap, and I said to Mr. Norris, he said, "How do you want me to ride this fella?" And with that, the old farmer from beside me, he said, "Christy, don't stop beating the effort until you get to the town of Newbridge," he said. Because he had every few shillings he had on him. And we didn't have whip rules in those days. I'd say Christy started beating him about 2 down and didn't stop until he was about 50 yards beyond the post. So I remember coming there. I got married 51 years ago. Money was scarce in those days. And I was on my way to Dublin. My wife was a nursing in Dublin, in the Mater at the time, and we were making arrangements for our honeymoon. And I thought I had sufficient funds, like just to cover the trip to Costa Brava. And Kevin Bell called me down there. Kevin was a great racing man, great trainer, and a great GA man. And he was having a few quid on the side. He didn't want anybody to know his business. He called me. He said, "Babs," he said, "will you go up to Paddy Meehan and have a grand on a horse for me?"
Wow.
And I decided I'd invest half of the
honeymoon fare
of the holiday fund.
Right.
And it was either Costa Brava or Costa Tramore. And I was down the far stand. Bill Williamson rode a horse for PJ Prendergast. And he was about 2 lengths down with a furlong to go. And he won by the shortest of short heads. So I owe Bill Williamson a lot, because I dread what would have happened if I had to go to Dublin that evening and tell the wife that we lost the honeymoon on the line on the Curragh. So I had great memories. I said racing, born down in South Tipperary, where I came from. We weren't too far from Vincent O'Brien's place at the time, so you had to be involved in racing. And I started playing hurling for Tipperary at a very young age. I got my place on the All Willing Team at 19. And all the Canadians and Tommy Wade, all the racing people, they were huge followers.
So it was just a natural thing, falling into it.
And in those days, like the GA were huge supporters. The GA personalities at the time, they were huge, no matter where you went. The Galway footballers, which were big in the 60s, majority of them went racing. And even take you the Dublin team that we heard so much about. I was at Anton O'Toole's funeral the other day. One of the best funerals I was ever at. If you describe a funeral, it was a celebration. But Tony Hanaho, who captained Dublin in those years, told a few great stories about Anton. Now, Anton and myself were great friends. We went to York every year for the last 30 years. But Anton and a few of the Dublin footballers got involved with one of the top trainers about 15 years ago. And Tony told the story about they going to Gordon one day, expecting this horse to win. And he ran over 2 miles, and he was beaten about 2 furlongs out. And the trainer suggested, maybe we should try him over 2.5 miles, he said. And Anton didn't care who or what he'd say to anybody. He said, the fucker nearly died, he said, after 2 miles. He said, what business have we run them over 2.5? So that was Anton O'Toole. Tony told another great story about him. They went on holidays, that Dublin team. And about 14 years ago, 36 of them. And they went to South Africa. And Tony, as he described it, playing golf in any golf course, they're fussy about time. So anyway, the bus was waiting, and they had 35 on the bus, short one, and they obviously went looking for Anton. So Tony sent Bobby Doyle up to the room, and he came down. No luck, he said. He won't get up. So Tony went up himself and he put his head out the door. Jesus, Tony, he said, I thought this is a holiday we were on. So, they were great personalities racing all down through the years.
Yeah.
They're missing somewhat in the present climate. You don't meet the same guys in Leopardstown or the Curragh like we used in those days. Like I said, no matter what meeting I went in the early years, you were meeting all those characters that played, whether it was Meath or Galway or Kerry. They were all going,
Yeah, there's a few of the young Dublin footballers now into their racing. Kieran Kilkenny, John Small.
Yeah, well, they're there because I introduced them to.
Right.
Yeah, Kieran is a good friend of mine now, living beside me, and Dean Rock, we meet regularly, and that gang.
And they all go racing?
They're all going, yeah, all going. Enjoyed, and great character and great people.
Tell him about the winner. Tell him about the winner in Dundalk.
Oh, yeah. With Kieran and myself were involved in a little winner in Dundalk, thanks to Johnny early in the year. So that kept us going until, what day are we? About the 22nd of May. So we need another one quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you involved, Johnny? Are you training it?
I trained it, yeah. I asked Babs, would Kieran come down to the local football team and give them a kind of a chat before the final? So he came down, and Babs says, you better look after him. So I said, Jesus, I'll give him a bit of a horse. Yeah. I says, we'll give him a bit of that fella. Now I'm after driving them down, Babs says. Well, I said, you have another bit of him. So the two of them got a bit of a horse, so we went to Dundalk and he won.
There's the photograph of it.
He won. So we had a great night.
Oh, yeah.
We had a great night there, and
What price was it?
yeah, he was favoured that night, and he was favoured the next night, so it'd be a while before they go again after the second. It was all great that night, but the next night there was no smiles when we got betting going, but no, as I said, it's good. Them lads, by them, it's kind of a bit of a release, that kind of way.
Yeah.
I see Willie there. Willie does have... You have a few of the lads there, don't you, involved? Willie has a few of the lads involved.
Yeah. You have a few lads involved as well, do you?
Yeah, a few GA heads there, they love it. As most GA people are sports people, so they enjoy going to some different kind of sport and love the horses, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sauce Dowling rides out every Saturday for me.
All right, okay.
Badly, but he rides out. But he Eddie McCormack used it, and he went a bit windy there last year.
He's the right size, all right.
Yeah. Well, Eddie served his time in the Curragh.
Did he?
Yeah, he served it with Declan Gillespie there in the corner, yeah.
Right, as a kid?
As a kid, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Sure, when he came in onto the county panel, he was only 10 stone or something.
Right, on purpose.
Jesus Christ, how are we going to get weight in this fella?
Yeah. And he's trying to keep it off.
Yeah.
Johnny, I want to ask you, meeting the father-in-law, do you remember the very first time that you met Babs?
I do, yeah. I didn't know much about hurling because I'm from Meath, but my uncles would have said, Babs Keating was, kind of played in his bare feet, won an All-Ireland for Tipperary, and I brought her out for dinner one night, so I brought her home. So we went in, and he went to Babs' house, and I says, I'll make a cup of tea, so I sat down beside him, and I kind of knew I was going all right when he says, well done. He says, have you anything for the weekend?
And did you?
Well, I said something, so I kind of spoofed me away a little bit to the first weekend anyway. But no, we've been, listen, it's great. It's great to be part of the family, I've really felt welcome. We've been all around the world together. I brought Babs to Hong Kong. We used to go to Dubai, and he introduced me to playing the golf, because Dubai is a long day. You start at 6 in the morning, you finish at 9:30. So we used to have great games of golf. The Tory, John Carroll, Babs, and we're playing in the Emirates there one day, and par 5. You hit across the water for your last shot. So we're hitting away, and we're only starting off, and there was 4 on the green, and they were just moving off. The way you play on the green, they're just moving off. So I decided to hit me shot. I said, Jesus, they're miles away. They're nearly over the thing. So as I do, I hit across, and it hits a stone and ricochets kind of over in front of these 4 lads, So I went, oh, geez, Babs, what are we doing? Oh, not to worry, says Babs. Not to worry, I'll go. So he goes up, and we're kind of sheepishly in behind him, and the 4 boys have now waited up on the bank. So Babs walks up now, and I'll sort it out, boys. So we walk behind him, and he's walking up. Sorry about that, lads. Hit the rocks. Oh, mate, he says, that's not on. That's not on, mate. That's not on. Well, sorry about that, lads. It hit the rocks. Hey, mate, I said I'm sorry, and I'm not saying it again. And if you don't take it, I'm going to throw you into the water. So much for his subtle approach. Sorting it out.
I did use a few words now that I couldn't repeat here. No, we had great times with Johnny. As I said, the first time, my daughter and myself were always close. We had close-knit family. And she did bring home one or two fellas before she met Johnny Murtagh. But she had a little dog that she got for her confirmation, and he was the most vicious little, call it what you like, no matter who came to the door. In fact, a man came to the door to bring her out one night, and he had a big bunch of flowers. And the dog saw him at the gate, and he didn't come inside the gate. So anyway, your man came on, and the dog couldn't open his mouth. And I turned to Nancy and said, "We're in trouble now." So we were in trouble. We were in trouble. We were a great time, a great son-in-law, and great family. And I must say, my daughter Ola is great, works hard, and great family, and great GA family. I said my grandchild won a Leinster under-14 medal with Kildare 2 weeks ago. The other girl was beaten in the Leinster minor final, shouldn't have been beaten. And the young lad is a good juvenile, just beaten in the under 16 for Milltown last week. So it's all go in that house down there.
Yeah, no, you must be really proud.
Yeah.
Come here, you mentioned the Emirates there. I remember meeting Donny O'Connell, who's also big into his racing, who would have been on your team in the late 80s, early 90s. Is that right, Donny O'Connell? He's a big horseman as well.
Donny is involved with Andrew Slattery. There's a group up there. They involved that horse. I think he was second last night, Sharjah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they have a number of them, and a few nice horses that they sold now in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Donny is one of the great guys. Super guy. Never married, a big job, very wealthy, worked hard with Kent's, travelled the world, and is still travelling the world. He's on his own as a consultant now in that construction business.
Yeah.
So, one of the good guys.
Yeah.
But like that team that I did train, every one of them were exceptional fellas. They were marvellous characters.
I often wondered sometimes, do you need that in a group of players? That you need them not just to be good athletes. It's not good enough anymore if you're going to end a famine like they did or do something special.
Yeah, well, look, as Willie appreciates, it's grand to have a happy group, no dissent in a dressing room, and I certainly had that for the 8 years I trained Tipperary, winning 2 All-Irelands. I think we'd have won a few more, but for injury. And nobody can legislate when you get the injury. As I said, we're amateurs. We can't do like United or Arsenal, buy in players when that happens. But we had a bunch that we travelled the world, and I suppose the best compliment we were paid after winning the All-Ireland in '89. We went to Florida and we went on a cruise down to the Bahamas. And the captain of the ship invited Nancy and myself to his table for dinner on the way home. And he said, "I'm inviting you just to thank you and pay tribute." He said, "I was terrified," he said, "when I heard there was an Irish group of 120 with our supporters on board," he said, "leaving Florida." He said, "I didn't know what was to happen." And he said, to be fair to you, he said, "there was a lot of beer drank now," he said. In fact, he said, we had to call for supplies when we landed in one of the islands. But he said there wasn't a bottle broke or a glass broke. He said, and it was all fun and humour and the way you treated the staff. Now, I'd say in all the years, it was probably one of the nicest compliments we got as a group. It was nice to say we represented Tipperary, we represented Ireland. And it's nice to think that we could go on, and it was the same way with us, no matter what hotel, and they carried that onto the field. And
was that a coincidence, or was that self-selecting? Did you only pick those lads who behaved like that anyway?
I was particularly lucky. When I took over Tipperary, they hadn't won a match for 15 years. And I brought Theo English and Donny Neal, and they had won 5 All-Irelands each, and I had 3. So there wasn't much anybody could tell us about the game. And the 3 of us were singing out the same hymnship. We played together. I joined them in 1963 as on the team, and they'd been there since the 50s. So there was no contradiction. Every night we were in training, it was our way, and I think we transferred that kind of confidence that we had. We couldn't see anybody beating us.
Yeah.
No, we were beaten. I don't want to be that presumptuous to say we didn't win every year. We were beaten days that we should have won. But as Willie well know, and you go back 21 years, like Willie's team probably should have won on All Ireland. They deserve to win All Ireland, but it's on the day and it's 70 minutes, anything can happen. Like when you're training a team, you don't know. We don't know what the conditions are going to be like on Sunday. You're going to be playing with a gale force wind. One All Ireland we played in 1967. You couldn't hit the ball more than 40 yards into the gale force wind.
Yeah.
And that's something you don't care for, and the element of luck prevails then, you know.
Yeah. Just want to remind everybody we're here tonight for the Curragh Spring Festival, which goes to post this Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and features the Tattersalls Irish 1,000 and 2,000 guineas and the Gold Cup, the first classics of the season. You can get your tickets for the festival now at curragh.ie. We'll preview the races in a couple of minutes, but Willie, it's a good time to ask as any, in retrospect, why did that great Kildare team not get over the line?
Well, I don't know if it was a great Kildare team, because it's been the only Kildare team for the last 50 years. So, I mean, we were a gang of lads came together, and we actually ran a few lads off the panel that were drinking at the wrong time. You know what I mean? We went off drink from Paddy's Day, and we just did it as a group to give ourselves a chance, because they said we can't compete with these top counties if we're going to be acting the bag is going out drinking on the weekends. And so a few lads did, and we said, look, Mico never said a word, we ran them off it, but now Mico had fined it down too. I mean, in January and February, we would have been training probably 5 nights a week, and then train on our own if we weren't training with Mico. Do you know what I mean? So we were very, very fit.
Did you all decide to make that commitment because Mico was here, or because you felt there was talent in the group? Or
we were training under other guys, and the county board never rode in with other managers. When Mico came into Kildare, it was, if Mico walked in through here, you'd see heads just turn. He had that aura about him.
Yeah.
And like he brought a unity in Kildare that every club decided to row in behind Mico. He called the shots on when the league was, and he decided on when the county lads could play with the club. We actually would put down a division Clane, because we had 7 lads in the county, and he wouldn't let us play with our club, so we couldn't field teams for the club, and we actually went down a division, which I didn't like. But anyway, but Mico brought in, and he set standards so high. It was like getting Aidan O'Brien into your yard to train these athletes. You said, well, geez, we've got the best trainer here, we have to do something. And that's what everyone did, and everyone stepped up to the mark. If he asked you to run that run that he used to, it was a 5-mile run, to do it every night, you do it every night, because you think this was a formula you needed to try and win. And so we just got rid of the messers, and we were very, very lucky with Glenn Ryan, who was born in the town here, and he was an exceptional player, I'd say. Kildare haven't seen the likes before or since, and he was a driven man, and he kind of was centre back and helped us all along. But that year we were very lucky. But and for the final, I think their manager outdid our manager. I think Mahoney he knew that little bit more about us than we knew about them, because we'd had a few draws and we'd been coming, whereas they kind of snuck into the final, and we didn't know as much about their players as they knew about us.
Their best players were 5 under-21s.
Yeah.
There was no tape on them.
Yeah.
They hadn't played on TV up until I think their first full televised game was the All Ireland semi-final. I might be wrong about that, but even the draw at Roscommon, there's barely any footage of that in the first round.
And I think the Curragh was down for the Curragh Plains there, because we were actually, I thought, from a training prospect, I thought we were 100% fit for the All Ireland semi-final to play Kerry.
Yeah.
And Mico was a Kerry man. He thought they were the team to beat. And we were actually flying for that, and we just when we trained 5 or 6 times in 2 weeks out on the Curragh Plains, right up where the gallops and on the fox cover, and a few lads pulled hamstrings, which I thought we were 100% fit, and I always think you can't get any more fit than 100%. You have to pull back a little bit, and I thought that's where we lost really out here, before ever going onto the pitch.
The team stayed together though, so obviously 99. I think Meath ended up beating you in 99, is it?
Yeah.
And then in 2000, you win a really amazing Leinster final again with the 2 quick goals. It seems like yesterday, but it's a long time ago now. Why did nothing happen over those years? Like, even was that 1 year? Did it break the heart? Was it like such a?
Oh, 99, 98, we went on the lash for the whole of the winter, going around to every clubhouse. Do you know, lads had never. We lost in the All-Ireland final. We still celebrated as if we won the frickin' thing. And then 99 was a washout. In 2000, we were still beaten with the wet ball again against Galway in the semi-final. Oh. And a crucial, about 10 minutes to go, we were level with them, and one of our guys was sent off, and that was the losing of that game, I think. You know, but like they're little things you can rue them. Like, I mean, but I think we were, just prior to the final, I just thought they knew more about us. You know, their attention to detail in Galway were phenomenal. They came up, they spent 2 weeks before the final, they spent the night over in the Minutes in the Glenroyal and did a full rehearsal of what they were going to do on the day of the All-Ireland final.
Yeah.
They left at the same time, went out onto the pitch as if they were had a training session on the pitch, and then came back around and drove the bus all around Kildare, up through Naas, up through Kildare, up through Newbridge, saw all the bunting, just to get them all right. And like, we probably waving at the bus going through. You know, it should have been stoned as I was going through. You know, but like, you know, I thought his attention to detail, and that's in any game, isn't it? The attention to detail. In our game, if we don't spot the horses, you know, it's not 100% before races. That race could actually knock the crap out of a horse that'll never come back to be 100% again.
Yeah.
Babs, where do you think hurling is now as a sport, given for like moving on from, you know, when you were managing Tipp, and are Tipp back?
Tipp are back, but Tipp, you know, as a county should never be gone. You know, it is one of the great hurling counties. I go back to 1965. I was on a winning team. We were the very first team ever to reach 21 All-Irelands. Even Kerry in football or Cork in hurling. Kilkenny have won out about 14 since. There were 5 or 6 All-Irelands behind us. 65, how many years ago? 54 years ago. So I think Tipp are back there. Some great players, but is hurling in a good state at the moment? I'm not too sure. I think the new system and the new structures, I think the present administrators will pay a big price in the years to come, insofar as that they've cancelled all club competitions from now until the end of August. Now, that baffles me. And it's all inter-county, and like if you haven't clubs, you're not going to have inter-county players. And if you take Leinster, like I take Leinster this year, I don't think there's any county in Leinster that can win an All-Ireland. Galway would be number one, but without Joe Canning, I think they're going to struggle. So I think the strength is between Tipperary. Limerick probably come back, but I think the All-Ireland will be between Tipperary and Cork. That's my opinion.
Is the round robin working for you?
No, it's an unfair competition insofar as that it's very unfair to the 5 Munster counties, because like if you go back to last year, I think Clare were the unlucky team. That they were the best hurling team last year and should have won the All-Ireland. Like if you go back, Clare beat Limerick by 6 points. But every game in Munster, you see, is an All-Ireland. You go back, like there's no Munster team have Curragh to play. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Dublin didn't win an All-Ireland since 38. And if Dublin were on Munster, all the 5 counties would fancy beating them. So there's no real pressure on Kilkenny and Galway to get to the final stages of the championship. It's a toss then between Dublin and Wexford at the moment, I think. So, like in Munster, you can take it that each of the 5 counties had aspirations like in getting to the last 3. And you saw what happened with Cork's great win over Limerick last Sunday. So it's so competitive. Like you saw Tipp hammering Cork last Sunday week, and Cork are back overnight.
Who's going to win the All-Ireland, Babs?
I think it's going to be between Cork and Tipp on the day.
Johnny, would you be into the Meath footballers? Or?
I was following this year. I was following the last couple of years, and it was great to see them getting up to Division 1. but disappointed didn't win Division 1. You know, Meath going to Croke Park up by 7 points in the first 5 minutes or the first 15 minutes against Donegal. You know, then Michael Murphy turns it on. Meath don't have a marquee forward. We don't have a Trevor Giles. We don't have to win an All-Ireland. You know what I mean? Yeah, you need those special players, marquee forwards.
Would you been going now in the back of the Sean Boylan days?
Sure, like when I was growing up, that's all I wanted to do. I was going to play for Meath. That's like any young Meath man, that's all we wanted to do was play for Meath. And then when in those years going, we were like, there's loads like Noel Meade, Tony Martin, you know, there would have been a load of racing people going up. You'd meet them all up in Croke Park. So it's, you know, the GA is great. I really loved it. And, you know,
seems to have a similar value structure and a similar type of people to horse racing, I would think. You know,
well, listen, yeah,
sports people.
Yeah, sports people. You have to listen. You have to be.
But they're connected. I think there's a connection to the community, and people are, you know, pretty grounded.
I think they are. You know, as I said, you can't get too carried away. You have to kind of, you know, live each day as it comes. You know, my morning is like an adventure. When you wake up, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who you're going to meet. You know, the staff.
Willie,
yeah, or the horses. You don't know what's ahead of you. So you have to kind of be just kind of calm and don't accept.
One thing I want to say to you, I thought it was madness changing the All Irelands back to August. Like all the big events in sport in Ireland and England, all the dates are cast in stone down the years. Cheltenham doesn't change, the Irish Derby, Guineas doesn't change. Why they brought the All Ireland hurling final back to the middle of August and the football final to the end of August, like when they were always the first and third Sunday in September. And even for the young kids going back to school in September, it was a GA month. And the GA have handed that over to other sports. From a selfish point of view, I thought it was ridiculous. And if you take, when you ask me about the structure of the championship, Waterford are a great hurling county, and they're a great hurling county. They're basically out of the championship the middle of May. Now, I don't think that's healthy. So there are a lot of things that are wrong. I thought bringing back minor to under 17, like minor at under 18 was basically a stepping stone. At 17, the chances of the owners being lost you when you want them is ridiculous. So there's so many things that I'm opposed to the present structures, and I don't hide in expressing those views, John.
And fair play to you.
We can tell.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the racing at the weekend. I want to ask you about Too Darn Hot. A lot of excitement about this horse coming over.
Very exciting. I really like him. I thought he was a really good 2-year-old. The Tory was, you know, big on him before. He was supposed to run in the Greenham. And I spoke to Frankie just before the Greenham and he said, like, this is a really good horse. He's really looking forward to him. So he got a little bit of an injury before the Greenham. So he missed the English Guineas. Surprisingly, he ended up in the Dante. You know, the Curragh's made for him. Straight mile at the Curragh, pace on. You know, he's a horse that's going to get a mile really well. The Dante run, he lost nothing in defeat. He didn't stay. He looked like he didn't stay. He gave the pacemakers a bit too far of an advantage. It was only 9 days ago. If that hasn't taken too much out of him, I think he'll give Magna Grecia plenty of it. And I think Scardu, William Haggis's horse that ran third in the Guineas, he'll also be in it. I think it's a 3-horse race. If I were to ride one in the race, I'd love to ride Too Darn Hot.
Why?
I just think he's got pace. He gets a mile really well.
You want to ride him because you think he's going to win. It's not the challenge of riding that horse or anything specific. It's like this is the winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about the provenance of this horse and the value of the horse, because this is the other side of the breeding side of it is so important. On weekends like this can make or break a stallion.
Yeah, well, it's a big like he's a Group 1 winner. He's a Group 1 winner at 2. He won the Dewhurst, which is the best 2-year-old race in England. So he's kind of a stallion already. But to be really adding on value to him, he needs to win a classic. So he didn't make it to the English Guineas. This is his chance now in the Irish Guineas. You know, so you know he could be worth up on 40 million if he wins tomorrow, because you know he's by Dubawi. He's out of a very good mare, and you know everyone wants the next Galileo. You know, Galileo's not getting any younger, so they need the next Galileo. So this lad has all the credentials of being a great racehorse, but he has to do it all over again when he goes to the breeding shed.
If you're riding Too Darn Hot, when you were back in the day, right, and a similar a similar 3-year-old with the track record of this is there. Are you in any way conscious of the amount that is riding on the owners as they're like going, off you go now, Johnny, don't let me down, son?
You do. You kind of. I'll never forget. I won the Guineas. I won both Guineas on a horse there a few years ago. Henry the Navigator, and he was going to St James's Palace. So you're just kind of thinking like, this is a big race in Ascot. It'll just boost his profile. So it was a serious one, and you do get nervous beforehand, but you just have to go back to say, right, back to basics. Today is not a big day for any special. Just do what you do. You have your homework done, put him in a good position, give him every chance, and the outcome looks after itself usually. You know what I mean? If you're on the best horse.
You were accept, don't expect. Were you always like that? Or that Zen, that Buddhist philosophy, was that something that you discovered along the way?
I was usually the opposite, but when you get disappointed a few times, you kind of have to change your tack. You know what I mean? But it's a good way to live. So you're not.
Yeah, no, totally it is.
It's a good way to live.
Did you discover it? Or like, is it a Buddhist philosophy? Is that where it came from?
Well, he said he was a Buddhist. I met this fella a few years ago in Newbridge, and he said he was a Buddhist, and he went on like he was a Buddhist. But he gave me a few good sayings. My thinking has changed a bit since. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think one of the greatest thing that's happened to me is just listening to Pat Smullen over the last couple of months, because I would have been very like Pat Smullen, driven. Like a wife and kids, but really the wife was looking after all that. You were just, I'm riding all the time. Don't ask me to do that, and don't ask me to cut the lawn of a Friday. I've got racing the weekend, so you're just totally in your own little world. But listen to Pat there now. He just gets it back to you. He reminds you again, the little things in life are more important.
Yeah.
We're just, the extra bonuses is what we're doing. It's training horses or riding horses. That's just a bonus. The way you live your life, and the way, the simple things in life is what really matters.
Yeah, and I think, Willie, the thing about horse racing is that if you have any sort of success at all, that separates you from most people. Most of horse racing is losing, because there's just so many races and so many horses. You're not going to be a winner every time, so you've got to get used to making an accommodation with it.
Yeah, you got it, but I think you can't be a good loser. Because if you get used to it, then you have to really learn from your losing. Why did the horse lose? Was it was a jockey in the wrong position most of the time?
Blame the jockey.
Always a jockey, or the track. No, look, losing's it's the hardest part of finishing second, beating a short head. Everyone says, you're unlucky, but it's the worst part of it, because your horse goes up in the handicap. Maybe costs you a win the next day. You're getting 1/5 of the prize money. There's no second place. We were second in All Ireland, we got nothing.
Yeah.
Second place is the worst place to finish. I think if you finish second in a handicap, you should automatically be dropped £2, because it means you're trying.
Yeah.
The lad who finishes fifth, who's probably the stewards haven't copped the jockey stroke and using the elbows and not going. You ever had that technique, John?
Mark Johnson, win only.
Yeah, but
always trying.
But you know what I mean? Those horses, they don't get penalised, and they'll beat you the next day because you've been second trying. You have to get used to losing, but I don't like losing.
Yeah,
that way.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's very well put. Let's talk a little bit about the racing this weekend. We've got €100 bets per panellist, courtesy of thetote.com. The Tote Irish Injured Jockeys Charity is still at 4,429 cents after our selection came in second last week, unfortunately. Each of our panellists has a €100 charity bet. So we'll ask you where your money's going after we preview the 3 races. And remember, you can enjoy the Tote versus the SP Best Price Guarantee on all Irish racing this weekend. See thetote.com for more. So, John, let's talk a little bit about this race. Johnny reckons it's a 3-horse race. Have you got anything beyond that?
Not really, guys. 2,000 guineas, 3:35 Saturday. Too Darn Hot, owned by Andrew Lloyd Webber. So, you think you're bringing all these shows to the West End and to Broadway, and you're going to make yourself a fortune, and then you got the Too Darn Hot. So that obviously is a great gateway. Could be worth a lot more. I think the horse will win. Too Darn Hot. Probably didn't stay, as Johnny said, at the Dante. Yeah, I think a straight mile up here will be right down up a street. The Dewhurst was a very good performance last year. In the Guineas in Newmarket, they split into two groups. Magna Gracia was in the right side. He was closer to the stands. Sometimes that happens with flat racing, that you have so many runners, they split into groups, and then you get sometimes horses coming onto better ground and finishing well. So that Scardew, who was first in the other group but third in the overall race, would have a chance. The one, if you ask me anything outside of that, maybe Phoenix of Spain, who hasn't run this year but was close to Too Darn Hot, chasing it home last year. So if sometimes horses can improve from 2 years of age to 3 years of age, and Phoenix of Spain at a price each way might be one against Too Darn Hot, but Too Darn Hot I think is the likely winner.
Willie, what do you make of the 2,000 guineas?
I just be worried because Too Darn Hot, he didn't stay, but they're also the hardest races on a horse, aren't they? If you go a bit further than they actually stay.
Yeah.
So if he hasn't recovered, Magna Gracia, I like him, and I see Ryan is riding him this time. Dunica rode him the last time. I think he'll still be very hard to beat. I thought he quickened up well to go 2.5 lengths clear, and then he could probably idle the last half a furlong, but I thought he won very well in England.
Okay. Do any of you have a tip for that race?
Too Darn Hot.
Okay, that's where you're putting your £100 for the tote.
Yeah, let's just keep it. Let's just try and get a winner.
Okay.
Yeah, Too Darn Hot.
Okay, so let's talk about the 1,000 guineas then on Sunday. Unless, Babs, do you want to talk to us about anything about the 2,000?
I'd go for Too Darn Hot. I think the guineas, English guineas, came up in two groups, and obviously the stand side made the difference. Too Darn Hot in the Dante, I couldn't understand John Gosden. Who am I to criticise John Gosden? But to have a pacemaker in that day did him no favours over 1 mile and 2. He came to win his race at the mile mark. He'd have won at 1 mile and 1, but he just didn't get the trip.
Yeah.
So he was the talking horse last October, and as Johnny said, it's going to be a fair test up. No disadvantage out there. So I think the mile is made for him, and I think he'll live up to what he was in the Dewhurst.
You're watching a lot of racing, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is that a lifetime of watching racing, basically?
Yeah.
He probably backed him.
No, I didn't. I'm awful suspicious of Paddy Power. He laid a double that day at an unbelievable price. I can't think of the first winner on the Dewhurst day, and Too Darn Hot. And 9 out of 10 of the special offers in Paddy Power's don't win.
That's a good tip there from. Right, let's move on to the 1,000 guineas then, because it's a smaller field here. And what's the story with this one, John?
Yes, it's 4:25 on Sunday. I think this is a little bit more open than the 2,000. Of course, Aidan O'Brien is looking to win the 2,000 at Newmarket and the 1,000, both at Newmarket and here at the Curragh. Hermosa, the favourite, was a surprise winner at Newmarket of the 1,000, but he also has Just Wonderful, Fairyland. Kabbalah has been supplemented. In other words, they paid extra money to get her here. That's Roger Varian. Idrissa won last year, Joseph O'Brien. I think if you want to look for an outsider, and once again, a horse that's running well as a 2-year-old, Pretty Pollyanna. Frankie Dettori's been booked to ride. Pretty Pollyanna might be a double-figure price each way, but I don't have as strong a view as I did on the Too Darn Hot.
Willie?
Kabbalah, I think, thought she ran a bit, she was on the outside there in the 1,000 guineas, and she was relatively inexperienced for that, and I think she'll come on from the run. And I'd like to see young David Egan be riding her, and he was just born about a half mile away from here, and he was in with me for the summer, so I'd love to see him ride a classic winner, to be fair.
Yeah, that'd be an amazing story.
Yeah.
Hermosa, I picked her out in Newmarket. She looked really well round the ring. She looked big and strong. She's done a jump off. She'll be up handy. She'll make the running, and she's a typical Galileo. When they come to her, they won't get past her like they did in Newmarket. She's going to tough it out here. Bit like her sister. Her sister was a bit underrated, but she won a few Group 1s, and this one is a bit the same. Mightn't be the best workhorse down in Ballydial. She was fourth string that day, but I like the way she came up the hill, and a stiff mile here will suit her down to the ground.
Is that your tip for the tote?
Yep,
great.
That's my tip for the tote.
Babs?
I'm like Johnny. Obviously, Aidan is going to win the guineas, and you'll find that she's the best of them.
Okay. did you ever have any interesting guineas experience of picking a horse? And
No, a few years ago, Aidan O'Brien rang me. He had 4 in the race. Mick Canam was riding from at the time. He says, Johnny, I have 4 in the race. You can ride, I think Menardi was the name of the horse. And I said, oh, that's good. Yeah, I said, geez, he was second favourite. He was second favourite. So the next day, Richard Hannon rang me. He had a horse called Tamberlane, finished second in Newmarket. And he said, Johnny, will you ride Tamberlane in the Guineas? Richard Hughes has to ride for Khaled Abdullah. Oh, I says, yeah, definitely ride it. So I rang back Aidan. I said, sorry, Aidan, I can ride Tamberlane. He was second in the English Guineas. And he looks like he's a great chance. He'd be favourite in Ireland. Oh, yeah, Aidan says, no problem. He says, no problem at all. So then on the Thursday, Richard Hannon rings me back and he says, Richard Hughes is after getting off. Khaled Abdullah is not running now in Haydock. He says, he's after getting off. He said, I said, geez, I said, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. The owner wants Richard Hughes to ride Tamberlane. So I ring Aidan back. I said, right, Aidan, I says, Richard Hughes coming over. He said, can I get back on Menardi? He says, no, you can't get back on Menardi because I've given him away, but you can ride a horse called Black Minalouche. So I looked at the thing, Black Minalouche, 25-1. Jesus. And he wins. So, look.
Accept.
And that's a true story.
how much of that race do you remember?
I remember everything about it. He was 25-1. I dropped him out. The ground was wet. The ground was soft. I dropped him out. I rode him like a non-trier. Just sat on him, let him find his way. Aidan says to me, he's a bit keen. He says, just get him relaxed early. So I just jumped out, dropped me hands. He was well back. He came up the stand side. I kicked him in the belly, 2 down, and he won easy. Mick Canam rode Menardi. He was second. And he went on then, and I rode him into St James's Palace, and he won the St James's Palace as well. So that's just some of the times you get lucky.
Was the conversation with Aidan in any way testy when you're like, listen, mate, I've got a better offer. I'm really sorry. I like your hustle, but I'm really sorry. Bye.
Sure. Listen, what can you do? You just ring him up and say, can ride the favourite. Like Mick Canam was his first jockey, so you were on the second string. So he goes, that's no problem.
Yeah, he understands that's just the game.
Well, that's. I wouldn't like to ring Johnny Murtagh now and tell him the same as a trainer. Or Willie McCreery might be a bit different, would you?
No, you're terrible to jockeys. You're always giving out jockeys, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the worst trainer to give out jockeys.
But that's exactly
now, just on the track now, on the weekend. There'll be no bias in that track now this weekend, sure one.
No, I don't think so. I think it's it's narrow. It's not very wide. It's narrow. I think everybody will get a fair shot at it. Newmarket, they put the stalls in the middle, and it just happened. I looked at.
Was there a bias that day?
There was no bias, but when I looked at the race, there was a pacemaker was drawn 16, and Dunica was drawn 17. So they were going to go that way. So it just worked out really, really well. The rest of the jockeys kind of were. I wonder what's going to happen, where the other two were, they had their mind made up. This is what's going to happen. We're going to make it happen down this side. So they just ducked left and they got a freebie. And I don't think there was any track bias, but the pace was all over that side. And Dunica.
But surely, like when they jump out, right? They were all stretched out. Was it 14 runners?
16.
16 runners. So one is over there and 16 over here. So there was was it 15? Over, there was 5 went on one side, didn't they? 3 went on one side. So why didn't the other lads? Why did they go that way? Why didn't they? I'm just asking.
Safety in numbers.
Safety in numbers. Right.
You don't want to look like a Benny. Just say
15 of them look like Bennies.
Yeah, but just say that if you're one of the 3, you look a bit worse.
Yeah, but.
No, but listen.
No, yeah.
Sometimes you do it. Sometimes you think you have a great idea. I'll jump and I'll go left, and you're the only one going left, and you finish last of the bunch. So, obviously the lads thought. Aidan's favourite was on this side, and they thought they'd run down this side. This would be the way to go.
Can you change your mind in the middle?
No,
it's too late.
It's the same as when you're looking at you're in the bookies and you're looking up and you go, why don't you move? You've after making up your mind you're dropping in, so now you're dropped in and there's 10 in front of you. You don't be able to move much. So the start of the race is nearly as important as the end of the race.
You can't move off that line because you cause interference.
Well, you can't. If there's 10 in front of you, you can't jump them. You have to kind of wait. Yeah. You're being dictated to. Where I like to be doing the dictating. You know what I mean? So the main thing you want to know before the race starts, what is the tempo? If the tempo is going to be strong, you can sit back a bit because, you know, they're going to go strong. If the tempo's slow, you want to be there. You want to be controlling the tempo.
And say halfway through a race, right? And they're going no gallop. You know, and you know you're there, as you'd say, you're caught in the middle, and you're going no gallop, and there's horses all around you, and you know, geez, I've got to get out of here. What does Johnny Murtagh do? Do you try and squeeze a lad out?
You try and move out a little bit. You try and move it, but like if you're moving 5 out, you ain't going to get home either. So you have to kind of sometimes sit and suffer, and hopefully you can suck up into a better position. But it's hard. You know, it's hard when you're in behind. It's just not as easy as looking at the screen and say, sure, he wouldn't move. Sometimes you can't move. You have to wait till either horse moves left or right. And if a half a gap comes, then you're into it. And
like the Curragh is fairer than most tracks, because if you're, say, you know, in Leopardstown, you know, and I always thought it would have been a great place to just see the Guineas one year in Leopardstown, because it would have been huge jockeyship, because you have to be in a good position before you turn in, because everyone slows it down till it turn in and then quicken. But on the Curragh to go in even gallop the whole way.
And it's 3 furlongs straight, so you get plenty of room. Leopardstown, you can be unlucky. Leopardstown's one of those tracks you can be hero or zero. Like if you're blocked away on the inside and it opens up and you get through, it's great. But if you're blocked up on the inside and it doesn't open up, you know, you can be 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10 times in Leopardstown the best horse wins. 9 out of 10 times in the Curragh.
So there were times in your career where you were boxed in and you had more horse and you lose a race because you just are in a bad situation and you can't get out. Is that the most frustrating?
And you come into the trainer and you say,
sorry about that.
Don't worry, I'll win it next time, boss. And he's looking at you thinking, what? You know, but you better make sure you win it next time.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Well, no, you know, you're just unlucky, but you cannot do that. You can barge out. You can barge out and you can knock them down, but then there's a chance you lose it in the stewards' room. But
not so much here, though. Not like in America. Did anyone watch the Kentucky Derby? You saw that, you know, like he did cause interference. The guy was lucky he didn't go down, and he was put back to 14. But that wouldn't have happened here.
Well, I don't want to say too much because Mita Osborne's down there, and she was she was the senior steward at one time.
And she's gone now, though. She's not anymore. She's very loving now.
You take a chance. You take a chance in Ireland because you take a chance. You say, right, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to.
Because you can talk your way out of it?
No, they don't. The rule is different here.
It does help to talk well, but at the same time, that you know, you're not going to get, like, maybe if you're going to get 5 days suspension instead of 2 days suspension, you might think differently.
Yeah.
You know, but sure, that's what happens. Like, I got a bit older and a bit wiser, so I started telling the lads in the weigh room, now, lads, we have to be a bit more careful and looking after each other. And they're looking at me thinking, where is this coming from? Huh? There's nothing so pure.
I know.
You know, so, but that is, you know, it's a big responsibility on the lads around you, because one false move can lead to somebody coming down, and if you're coming down at 35 mile an hour, you don't know what's going to happen.
But like, you know, slagging Johnny and all that, but jockeys have a very tough time because they ride here, racing rules. In Ireland are totally different to the rules in England, or totally different to the rules in France, or totally different to the rules in America. Whereas if you play soccer, the same rules go in England, France, and there has to be more of a combined rule structure throughout the world, I think. And I think Mita and all the other, you know, the Turf Club, the Jockey Club, the American Jockey Club should be more au fait that everyone, the same rule goes out everywhere, because Irish jockeys get fined in England and they get days, you know, in Cheltenham because of the stick rules, you know. And now we've brought in stiffer stick rules here, which no one wants to beat a horse. Johnny's on about he's loving a horse. We all love horses, that's why we're in it. We have the safest sticks now, and they're encouragement sticks. They're not like going back in Babs' time where, you know, if you didn't batter, he wasn't getting his holiday. Do you know what I mean? We have to bring racing to a certain level that people can watch racing. And racing now in Ireland, I think with the new stick rules, is a nicer sport to watch.
Yeah.
Horses, we're encouraging them to win. We're training them from the time from the time they're 18 months old, how to race. And all a stick is a way of encouraging them to race. But I mean, I think the rules are so strict and different across the world. It's strange for me.
Willie, you've got a few runners this weekend at the Curragh. Is there anything that you would think might have a chance of winning?
If Guinevere on Sunday, I think she's the last race. She's a right chance, and Peshkova. And my wife told me to run Mowgli on Saturday, so she'll run well for my wife Amanda. She bred her, so little 2-year-old. He'll run well. He's in a very good series of races they brought out in Ireland. The horses are weighted on what they cost, and it gives you a chance. And this is for horses, I think, under 60,000. The one on Saturday, and it's under. I think it's horses that cost 60,000 or less, and it encourages people to get into horses. So you know, when you run the maiden, you're not running against the regally bred Galileos. You're running against horses. It could be a Galileo that only sold for 60,000, but you probably wouldn't see it at the sales. So it's a great encouragement for people to get into racing, and there's a great prize fund there of 15,000 to the winner. So, like some of the horses you'll see are carrying eight, so they cost under 14,000, and you're straight out the door if you win it. So.
Great incentive, yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny, do you have anything running this weekend that you like, or anything that you see in a handicap?
Well, Urban Beat is the horse we have. My jockey's after giving a good report there about him, so he's running the Group 2. We would like a shower of rain. He's a horse that likes kind of good or worse, good to firm, but they're watering here, so it's the ground is so good. So we're hoping Urban Beat. He's the best horse we have. He runs in a Group 2. Sure Step runs in a handicap. He always runs well at the Curragh. He's been running well in I think he ran Navan and Naas this year so far, but he always runs well in the Curragh. So we're light on runners, but they're the two that, as I said, we're bringing our best horses to the Curragh.
So is everybody else. There's one last race we need to talk about, and that's the Tattersalls Gold Cup, which goes to post at 3:50. It's the race before the 1,000 guineas on the Sunday. John, what are you looking at here?
I think the one that sets the standard is Magical for Aidan O'Brien, course and distance winner. Has won his last 2 starts comfortably, over a mile and 2. So I think, look, he's got a good few in the race. Last year his, like Cliffs Mower was the fancy one, but it was second to Lancaster Bomber. But I think Magical is the one to be on here.
Anybody else got anything in this race?
I think Magical, she won here easy. The last day was a prep race for this, and I think she won easy.
Aidan always targets this race. It's a big race. It's the big race for going forward. You'll see her winning here and going on to something like the James's Palace or the big race in Ascot, Prince of Wales.
Right.
That's the kind of stepping stone here, Prince of Wales.
When you said you were talking to Frankie Dettori, are you still mates with all those jockeys as well? Is that just a useful?
Yeah, he's staying Saturday night, so he's riding one for me on Saturday. So that should be good, and he always stays. So we always have a good catch up, and I've still. I'm doing a bit of punditry and telly. I'm a bit hard on them. They're not as friendly anymore.
I'd say so. Yeah. You're telling the truth.
So I do tell them. I tell you, better ride them well today, lads. So no, they're all good. They're still talking.
I'd say you enjoy the punditry, do you?
That's good. It's good. It's just like, as I said, we don't have any horses for the big day, so you still feel part of it. You're in the middle of the ring, and you're there. I done the Guineas last week, and I'm doing the Derby next week, so you do feel part of it, and you're in the middle of it. And
but the way you two are having that conversation there is really interesting to me. Like, are you having similar conversations down on the gallops, or is that not really, like, there's nowhere you can go and talk in depth about He's making signs over your head there. There's no way you can go and talk in depth to somebody you trust to go, this is my instinct about this, what happened here, or I'm having a bit of a trouble with this. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a mentorship, but it's almost like a peer group that you can compare and contrast ideas with.
Well, we have the Trainers Association. They have meetings up, and I'm sure like you can go, and there's loads of people you can talk to. As I said, at the end of the day,
you're competing.
It's a small cake in Ireland.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a piece of it. So it's all grand, friendly, but when it comes to it, that's my piece and I'm keeping it.
Babs, I need to ask you, do you like the pundits? Were you ever a fan of the pundits? The analysis of GAA, is that something that you were ever happy with? Did you think they do a good job?
I don't know how to answer that one, Johnny.
Tell the truth, pal.
No, just say you're good. Just say they're good. They're good. Good positive stuff we keep saying. Is that right?
think I'll hold back on that one.
All right, fair enough. Pleading the fifth is a fine way to wrap this up. A reminder, of course, that the Curragh Spring Festival goes to post this Friday, Saturday and Sunday and features the Tattersalls Irish 1,000 and 2,000 guineas and, of course, the Gold Cup, which we just talked about, the first classics of the season. You can get your tickets for the festival now at curragh.ie. We've been doing Friday Night Racing for almost a year. These have been some of the best guests that we've ever had. We've had privilege spending time in their company before now, but I hope that you've enjoyed tonight. Please give it up for all of our guests tonight, and thanks very much for coming.
Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.